Hey, welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. I'm dai-chan, and today we've got to talk about one of the biggest steps backward in internet history. Age verification laws have been passed in select US states and throughout all the UK. This was supposedly done to protect minors from accessing adult content online. And while that sounds like a noble cause, the current requirements are so strict that they essentially ban any website they target. Complying with these laws is simply not feasible, even for the largest adult platforms. Instead, they've opted to disable access to those territories altogether. Even if they could comply, doing so raises huge concern regarding online safety and identity theft, on top of violating our individual privacy. In theory, requiring these sites to verify the ages of its viewers is perfectly reasonable, but in practice, it's a terrible idea, at least for now. The argument in favor of these laws is that adult content is simply too easy for minors to access. I actually agree. As it stands, most adult sites show a brief warning page before you can get in. They either ask you to click "Yes, I'm 18 or older," or provide the drop-down menus to input your birthday. There is literally nothing stopping you from lying on these pages. Still, I personally feel that these sites are already doing all they should be expected to. Splash pages like this aren't an effective security measure, but they do provide users with sufficient warning for what they're about to find on the other side. Any would-be minors trying to get by have to deliberately lie to proceed. They aren't stumbling into explicit material while browsing the web normally. It's not popping up in their algorithm randomly. Now, you might be thinking, if a minor can't legally give consent to sex directly, how can they give consent to view adult content? For that, I think it's important to consider why age of consent laws exist in the first place. They aren't really designed to stop minors from getting down with each other. Rather, it's a precaution to ensure that minors aren't being taken advantage of by adults in positions of power. The assumption is that, even if a minor were to technically consent to screwing someone much older, that consent isn't recognized in court to ensure that there's no coercion involved. I have to stretch my brain to consider a scenario where a minor was coerced into browsing an adult site. Maybe peer pressure? Possibly. I just suspect that most minors accessing these sites know what they're getting into and truly want to see this stuff to the point where they're willing to lie about their age. Honestly, I don't even see the problem there, in moderation anyway. I don't have kids of my own, but regarding my upbringing, explicit stuff was a rite of passage for me. I was interested in raunchy stuff even before I was a teen. Softcore stuff like bikini mags or lingerie would have me sneaking off to the bathroom. It's better to be exposed to it in a safe environment ahead of time, rather than be blindsided naively in adulthood. The popular adult sites around right now are actually way safer to browse than the internet I grew up with, which could have you swarming in viruses by the end of a single session. I can totally see someone having access to these sites being the modern equivalent to a dad giving his son an old Playboy mag to hide under the bed. Really, it's the same issue with sex education. Conservative schools that only teach abstinence only are far more likely to deal with teen pregnancy and STDs. It's been proven that teaching minors about safe sex ahead of time is healthy and beneficial. What I'm trying to get at is that it should be a parenting issue, not a legal one. By lying about their age online, minors are lying to their own parents about visiting these sites. Rather than blocking someone's access altogether, isn't it better to teach minors why they shouldn't be seeing this content yet? A parent and child should be on the same page about this stuff, such that when the child encounters one of those click to proceed pages, they'll abandon ship of their own accord. I suppose it's possible for an actual child, like some Roblox-addicted elementary schooler, to find one of these sites and click yes without even realizing the warning. But that too is a parenting issue. Both browsers and devices have the ability to restrict mature content. Safe modes and parent filters do in fact work, at least for the sites involved in these new laws. If your browser can't detect one of these adult sites, that means it's obscure enough that the law hasn't reached it anyway. At the very least, major places like the Hub aren't pretending to be for kids, and are certainly detected on parent filters. This reminds me of the adult game No Mercy on Steam. A lot of TikTokers were outraged by the game existing, and were ironically asking others to disable Steam's safe search to find and criticize the game. Think about that. There are Steam users who actually enabled safe search to avoid seeing offensive material, and they're willing to turn off that feature so they can investigate an offensive game they don't like. The game wasn't for these people, and the safe search actually did its job keeping them from it. In this case, the issue wasn't whether No Mercy was available to children or not, though protesters certainly tried to frame it that way. Deep down, they were just pissed the game existed at all. It wasn't truly about protecting kids. That was just a convenient excuse. I suspect the same may be at play regarding age verification. It's no surprise that the US states demanding age verification all happen to be majorly conservative. Their religious Puritanism is a driving force behind the laws in play. After all, these laws apply to sites like OnlyFans too. Sex-positive or empowered women liberals are being hurt by them too. Perhaps the entire point of these laws is to ban adult content for everyone, under the guise of protecting children. For that, we need to actually understand what these laws are asking for. The idea is simple, but stupid. When it comes to the purchasing of alcohol, vendors are required to check for ID on site. Since booze is a physical good, it follows that there will always be an opportunity for staff to check IDs in person, even in the case of deliveries. Lawmakers want that same level of scrutiny every time a user wants to access an adult website. Problem is, that just isn't feasible for digital goods online. When I first heard of age verification, I thought it would be a simple, one-time process of submitting ID to a website to have your account permanently verified. After all, that's what the Hub does for its registered creators to ensure they aren't posting CP. If that were the case for everyone else, I wouldn't be making this video. In fact, I'm genuinely shocked how we've jumped to the current state of affairs without even giving account verification a try first. No, instead, the government is expecting individual adult sites to somehow verify a person's ID with every visit. What happens if the power goes out and you have to log back in? What if you FAP multiple times a day, but close the browser in between sessions? Even with all this security, if my YouTube channel can be hacked via browser cookies, then surely those same cookies could be used to bypass verification altogether. Anyway, what the government has envisioned is like the TSA, but without the staff and exponentially more traffic. Even if sites like the Hub could handle or afford it, most smaller sites certainly couldn't. Another huge red flag is identity theft. Sending a form of ID online to a random adult site to keep on file is dangerous. It's just another thing hackers will get access to if they dig deep enough. Most retailers only need a credit card, and that's bad enough as it is. Then there's the matter of privacy. Linking your ID to an account, even if you only had to do it once, could allow people to find out exactly what degenerate stuff you are fapping to. In some cases, people are being asked to consent to a face scan, which an AI will use to estimate your age visually. I assume they're talking about a live webcam feed. What if you happen to look young naturally? What's stopping kids from putting on fake beards and mustaches? While I wouldn't anticipate this data being used outside of legal disputes, it gives off a similar ick to installing security cameras in public restrooms. There are ways I can imagine getting around this, but they'd require the government to step up. Imagine something like TSA PreCheck. You could visit a government facility in person and have your age verified on site. They would issue some kind of special ID or code that adult websites would accept on login. It would be like getting yourself porn certified, and individual sites would only have to check the validity of that code rather than take on the burden of inspecting IDs. Heck, a third-party verification site could also be used to issue IDs that all adult sites could accept. At the very least, this would take the financial and laborious burden off individual sites themselves. That said, the one method most adult sites suggest is device-based verification. Users would, on their own time and money, go and get their individual devices verified, such as phones, PCs, or tablets. Then everything they browse would be uncensored by default. I don't mind this, but apparently it isn't good enough, as kids could just use a family computer or something. I don't know. Regardless of all the potential methods, though, they all boil down to deterrence. Even if you could verify a single account, someone could just share that account with minors. Any type of code could be shared around, too. We already have horror stories of kids getting hold of their parents' credit cards and buying shit for mobile games. What's stopping those same kids from borrowing or making copies of IDs, too? The only way to prevent that would be for users to present both their ID and appear live on webcam for an actual employee to confirm. There's just no way that could be enforced. Not even the government imposing these laws can afford to hire enough people to perform those checks. Plus, if the kid's clever enough, they might just fake a webcam feed. There's always a way. Rather than trying to make these sites harder to access, it would be so much easier for parents to simply build enough rapport with their children that they don't need to sneak their way in. Raise a good kid who, even if they access adult sites, are mature and responsible enough not to let it corrupt them. Be aware of what your kid is up to, and use existing parental services to prevent kids from even reaching these sites before they're old enough to understand them. As it stands, any form of age verification is going to cause website traffic to plummet, not because they're filtering out all the minors, but because many people simply won't bother going through all that red tape. This kills the economy not only for adult performers, but also artists who rely on these online services. To sum all this up, I agree that it's probably a bit too easy to access adult sites, but just how much harder should it be? Personally, I feel that a one-time account-based verification per site or a universal adult verification ID would be a worthy compromise. Sure, it's a slight breach of privacy and a potential security risk, but it's leaps and bounds better than the regulations currently being demanded. It's no wonder adult sites just say, fuck it, you won't be getting access anymore. To push regulation this strict has me genuinely concerned that governments have been infected by right-wing religious Puritanism or want to hold dictatorship over the general public. Either one is bad. Ultimately, laws like this should never be put in place until a proper method of enforcing them is readily available. While I don't personally think any of this is necessary, surely there's a better system we could use than what we're stuck with now. Since anime isn't inherently for children, and often involves adult situations, it's important that we defend freedom of expression when it's effectively being banned like this. It won't just be porn sites forever. It's already leaking to other types of mature content that adults should be allowed to consume. We already have it hard enough with censorship from payment processors. For the sake of discussion, I want to ask you all what regulations you think would work. If given the opportunity to design your own system, how would you go about preventing minors from accessing adult content? What steps would you take so that websites can actually comply? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, celebrate your fandom.
Thanks for watching. This channel relies on support from viewers like you.
Please help us out by dropping a like and comment. Subscribe for more videos, and be sure to enable notifications. Or hit up our Discord so you never miss out on a new upload.
Most importantly, if you can spare it, please sign up as a channel member, either through YouTube, Patreon, or Subscribestar. You can find links in the description. We've got perks like exclusive content or early access.
Until next time,
Celebrate your fandom. I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. VideoGamer75, Dante Pendragon, Stephen Elak, Otaku Mom, Mystic Samurai 1983, Freebrick, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Lunar Works, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Crow Calum, Sal Soto, Tristan Riggin, Winter's Edge, Sneer Cachette, Sunbro Torian, Dionysus, Caitlin P, Sogai CH, Sith Lord 906, Vladimir Ovna, The Taz 96, Kengo X77, Alistair Bernadotte, and Reason 99. Thank you all so much.